All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Troy Thompson and Monica Adwani with the Get Savvy podcast. And we have a special guest today, Jeff Shi, who is the founder of Quantum Insurance. He also has Quote Hound, so I'd love to hear more about how that's working. He's involved with crypto. He loves Kirk Cousins, and he's the true visionary. He's like the most interesting man in insurance, in my opinion. I mean, the guy thinks bigger than anyone that I've ever met when it comes to business and insurance. So welcome, Jeff.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on. Just to correct that, what you just said, the intro, I am the co-founder of Quantum Insurance. Okay. So the other co-founder, Justin Egger, he's the CEO of Quantum Insurance, and I am the CEO and also co-founder of Quote.
Quantum. So are you more involved with Quantum or Quote Hound, or what are you doing these days? Because you seem to know a lot about everything out there, and we just love to hear what Jeff Shi is up to.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit. 2011 got into the insurance industry like everybody else. Like many people started in the captive world. At the time, I applied for State Farm, Progressive, Nationwide, and Allstate. Never got a call from Nationwide. I applied online. And got a call from Progressive. And after one interview over the phone for 10 minutes, they're like, you should go sell insurance for an agent for 2 to 5 years and then apply after 5 years. And got a call from State Farm and then had 3 in-person interviews. And the whole time was going great. Very thorough and long process. And then the last step was a background check. And I didn't pass out their background check because I had a short sale throughout my divorce of a house from 2008.
I was
pretty devastated. I was pretty devastated, and because I want to be a State Farm agent. I seen enough of their commercials, and then Allstate called me, and they're like, "Wait, you have 140,000 in savings?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Are you ready to start today?" I'm like, "Yeah." So the rest was history. From the interview to the beginning process was really fast, and started a captive agency in Sterling, Virginia. Two employees to start out with. And after that, I would say, hold on one second. After that, I would say it was about year number 2 to year number 3 that I realized that this is pretty hard, right? Even though what we're trying to do is seems simple, but even though I came from sales, but I was like a lone wolf type of salesperson. I sold cars and I had my own business. So managing people, recruiting people is tough. And especially when you have like zero experience in it. And then also trying to understand the marketing, trying to understand the CRM. And at the time in 2011, CRM and leads, the options were just so little on the marketplace. And I came from car business where we had lived and died by the CRMs. And what I saw in the insurance world was so behind. So anyways, good thing I had good support, good help. I had 2 people in my organization who both came from the car dealership world with me, who were very close to me. They believed in my vision. They took massive pay cut to come join me. And we just grew from there. It was really rough at the beginning stage. After 3 years, I think we built up to $4 million in premiums. Selling insurance in Virginia, which is like Virginia's super cheap in insurance. 48th lowest homeowner premiums, 44th lowest auto premiums. Wow. And then after 3 years, built up $4 million. We had open a second agency. And when we opened a second agency, we went about it a little bit differently. Instead of having 140 again to start a second agency, I went out and got a HELOC against my business, which is business equity line of credit. Since I had the $4 million book of business free and clear, and I started that business with $250,000. And my goal was to burn the whole money within the first 12 months. This is the key. If you go borrow money to start a business, you have to have a certain amount of time to burn your money. People are like, oh, I want to go get this money and I want to save it and then try to use this money for 10 years. With insurance being a renewable business, your goal is to burn the money in 12 to 18 months. You got to have a business plan to burn that money. And it's all about people and marketing and leads, right? People, marketing, leads, CRM. And before that, to get to those three pillars, you got to have two other pillars. You got to have cash reserve and you got to have cash flow. You have those things planned out, right? And to get to that, you got to have process and training in place. So there's my 7 pillar. I'm a speaker at captive agents events. I spoke at independent agents events, and I always talk about the 7 pillars.
So those are yours, the 7
those
pillars?
Are mine. Those are mine. Yeah.
Are those on a website or anything where anybody can learn about them? Do you have a book?
No, this is dropping live for the first time.
Woo.
On Guest Savvy podcast event.
Let's go.
All right. So the second agency, we went in there, we built more process in place. We put more roles of niche roles in place. You do this, I do that. I only do this and that you only do that. We get out each other way. And second agency, we built about $3 million in total premiums in 2 years. One of the key thing about building those premium was I met a guy at an Allstate agent event. It was like the national top producing agent event, top 20% guy invited. He was out of Pittsburgh. Him and I chatted on the last day when people just, leaving the hotel, catching breakfast. We sat at the same table by accident. And I wanted to go visit him. And his name's Tom. He's a Steeler fan, unfortunately. But him and I, we got along great because he was all about process and I was all about process. But the thing is, even though I was all about process, my process was in my own head. It wasn't written down. When I went to his place, everything was written down. And I brought my operation manager with me. Her name is Yolanda. Shout out to Yolanda. And we're like, okay, they're doing everything we're doing, but the only difference is they have it all written down. So in case something happened to me or you, it's all there. Versus us being the process, right? Yeah, write it down. So simple. Next thing you know, we wrote it down. And so if Troy were to start with us as a new employee on day one, 9:01 a.m., Troy is sitting with Monica. Monica is going to teach Troy this and that. Troy going to sign this procedure, workers manuals, employee manuals, cyber protection manuals, non-solicitation manuals, all the things Troy got signed, all the things Troy got watched. After Troy watched them, who's going to test Troy? What question is Monica going to test Troy on? How many questions? What's it passing? And then who Troy going to shadow with? The purpose of the shadow and how do we grade the shadows? Every single step of the way was written down. We built this manual up to 3 weeks. And then, 2 years later, we extended the manual to up to 2 months.
Wow. Every single minute is accounted for?
Every single minute. Every single minute. Who you sit down. Oh, I didn't do it. I have great people who are great at process in place to do it. Okay. I am the guy that can think of things and just like, a lot of times I have like a lot of ideas just going through my head and it's literally like this, right? It's like shooting gun from the hip. So I always hire people who are my weakness, and those weaknesses can crumble me. That's why I have to have strong people around me, and I value strong people. So after meeting Tom, Mr. Pittsburgh, came back and we're just like, you know what? Let's build a second agency. So we built a second agency. It was pretty successful. We took half the time to build the same amount of premiums. And then It wasn't
Why
what I
would you
expected,
do it?
though.
Is it like a split test? You wanted to do a different agency and do it a different way?
So in the captive world, census close rate was around 12% of quotas. So every 100 people we quote home and auto, we will close 12%, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had this thing called enhanced comp. Enhanced comp is if you're willing to start a scratch agency, $0, right? They give you enhanced comp for the first 3 years. So we leverage the enhanced comp to buy more marketing, to buy more people. For example, farmers right now have enhanced comp that pay them 3x of the new business commission in the first year, 2x second year, 1x third year. So if you auto is 9%, home is 14%, they pay you 36% year one, 56% on homes year one, right?
That's crazy.
So if a producer wrote, I don't know, 86,000 a month, $1 million a year number one, technically that is the same amount of commission as this producer wrote $3 million in year number three.
Mm-hmm.
Or if a producer wrote 333,000 year one, that's the same thing as this person writing $1 million year three. So with this enhanced comp, by the way, Erie have something very similar. If you guys heard of Erie in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
They are indie agency, runs like a captive, and they have a pretty decent enhanced comp model. So anyways, so
Which agency is that?
Erie Insurance.
Oh, Erie. No, we're not. They're not in Minnesota.
They're not? Okay.
No.
All right. They like those non-cat states, and Minnesota is definitely a non-cat state. So
non-cat. We have hail like crazy, man. It's going to make me quit insurance. Yeah.
Oh, hail's job security.
I guess so.
So, I can't remember what year it was. So later on, my progression keep on transitioning to buying book. A buddy of mine selling book of business. He wanted to move to a different state. And I bought his book. It was an $11 million book of business. And it was the biggest loan I have ever signed. What's funny is, this is a separate story by itself. I talked to like 9 different lenders. At the time, I had $7 million free and clear. And the loan was like $4 million-ish. And I wanted to put nothing down. Just leverage the cash flow against my $7 million book. And I got rejected by so many banks. I couldn't understand it. I still don't understand until today.
Banks don't understand insurance, do they?
Yeah.
Most of them.
I don't know. And then one bank finally said, yeah, we will do it. And then they brought their whole team, flew down from Northbrook, and sat in my office, listen to my process, look at all my people to make sure they're all real, since I put them on business plan and they see it on my payroll, right? They see it on my tax return, they see it on my payroll, but they still want me, all of them. They spent a whole day in my office and they agreed to this loan of $4.2 million. Anyways, so I grew that book first year to after 2 years, grew to $13 million.
What was it at initially? 11?
11. Yeah.
Okay.
And, got bored again. So built a 5th agency, and the 5th agency was probably one of my most successful one. We did about $5.5 million just in that agency alone in 5 months. The first 5 months, that was my goal. My goal was to spend all my money in the first 3 months. And just get a quicker spin on the money. So anyways, that year combined with everything, all the agencies combined, we did about $10 million on new business in the captive world.
And that's about 10 times more than the average independent agent has for their book of business forever. I would say the average independent agent is working out of their house with about a $1 million book of business with no employees. Would you agree, Jeff?
If you look at SIAA, they talk about they have $10 billion in total premiums, but they also talk about they have 9,000 agents. So that's about 1.1 per agency, right?
Nailed it.
Yeah. And, I was on so many different stages speaking nationally and regionally. And I also was on 3 different national advisory boards for Allstate, which was Pioneer Technology, New Agency Success, and Diversity. They had a diversity board too. So I guess, the color fits, right? So, one of the problem was so many agents look at this business as, how do I achieve 6-figure income, right? But so the average book of business in the captive Allstate world was $2.5 million. And they have about 2.2 staff on average. If you think about $2.5 million at 9% renew, right, that's about $220,000 in revenue. And that's before retention loss. And that's before CSRs, salespeople. If you start minusing all that, plus rent expenses, million different like utilities, right? What's left for the agency owner? The level of stress that we take on this business, the level of liability we take on this business is massive, right? Like you hear people say accountants, mortgage people die young, they suffer stroke because stress level is high. We ain't no different, right? So the way I look at it is if we're going to take on all that risk, we should be rewarded a little bit differently than just trying to chase six figures.
You're chasing millions, 10x, baby, like Grant Cardone.
So my last 2 years, with the enhanced comp, the last 2 years in the captive world, we did about 4.5 and 4.7 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. And I also had a recruiting company. I had a talent recruit company. We had at our peak probably over 15 recruiters. And we were recruiting sales staff for agents. We were probably recruiting for 80 some agencies at the time in our first year one, from State Farm to Farmers to Allstate to Independent. But we had a minimum. So if you want to use our service, minimum is 5 recruits.
Everything's bigger, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of people that was willing to take on the deals that would, agent want to recruit 1 or 2. But those are the agents that don't pay their staff anything, don't have process written in place, don't have bonus structure in place, don't buy their agent staff leads. It's going to be 10x, 20x more harder to recruit staff for those agents. So I want to recruit agents who want to make 6, 7 figures. And through that process, I built myself a nice little circle. And through that process, I also made a lot of people rich. I can't tell you how many agents that we recruited for was top in their state, region, territory for performance. So, through the process, we started a consulting gig, and I was like, this is not bad. This is kind of fun. I didn't have national contracts for these consulting insurance gigs just because there's just so much process with legal involved, right? That, you literally give your soul to somebody else. They have to go through everything you say. And a lot of times I say unconventional things. To me, the best consulting is not just watching pre-recorded videos for 40 hours, right? The best consulting is just sit down with the agency and tell them the hard things, whether they're going to like you or not. There's a lot.
Are you still doing consulting, Jeff?
No.
No.
I have probably talked to a lot of people, but I take a lot of pride in my work, and there's just a lot of people I have talked to over the years, not for consulting fee, but just help with, that never acted on anything I told them, that never executed. And I was just thinking in my head, if you're paying $50,000 for a mastermind class, you'll be coming to my house and writing down everything I say. But since I just give you everything for free, you just took it for granted.
No value it?
No value. There's no value. So anyways, we're getting off sidetrack. We met on a trip, on a performance, top producer trip. And, we just kind of hit it off, and then we agree on things. And the first year we were like, okay, let's prove our theory. So we took the team that we had, and we did about $23 million of new business first year.
23?
Pretty much 23, yeah. With pretty much just 4 carriers. And we did it with Progressive, Nationwide, Safeco, Travelers, and Stay Auto. And then year 2, we're like, okay, let's get a little bit crazier. We started to deconstruct our team and put the best people in place, and we built out a 1099 agent contract that was run similar to a franchise model. And what we did was we brought in agents that want to be like us, want to do business like us. We would take care of all their service work. And similar to the aggregator cluster model, but in my opinion, we are the InsurTech to the aggregator cluster franchise network. So if you look at SIA of the world, I look at them as like phase one.
That's
Phase
who I'm
one of
part
the
of.
cluster network, right? They haven't really reinvented themselves in 50 years. If you look at the staff, it's the same people in place. They take pride in having the same people for 20 years. But the same thing, keep in mind, I'm not knocking that, right? I think that's fantastic, right? But same thing, like our world evolves. Look at what everybody have done. Geico, Progressive, US, it continue to come into our world, evolving our world. But how do we not evolve on this? How we have to evolve. And then Goosehead came in. I say Goosehead was like the 1.0, right? There, you have your base, and then Goosehead was like, we're the 1.0 of InsurTech. And then, Brightway, we insure starting to follow. And I feel like we are the 2.0. We're reinventing the disruptor to the disruptions.
So what makes you guys better than Brightway and Goosehead?
I wouldn't call better because, that is just like a quote that I get quoted on some Facebook group later, right? But I would say we're unique. We're special. I remember looking at these contracts. We were negotiating contracts since we're negotiating contract for Quantum Direct Team and the Quantum Agency. And we were like, okay, if we sell this amount and we do this and do that, can we get an override? Overrides additional enhanced compensation that independent carrier pay agency, cluster network, or a group, right? And they're like, yeah, we'll give you 8 points. So 8 points is, imagine you get 15 points on new business, you get 8 points on top for every new business. And we asked the question, we're like, can we pass it on to our agency's network? They're like, yeah, you could, but why would you want to? Nobody has done this before. That was a changing moment when he said, nobody has done this before.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you follow these companies like, clusters, network, franchise. They brag about, we brought on 600 agency this year. But after 40 years doing this, 20 years doing this, 10 years doing this, you should have 30,000, 50,000 agencies, right? Say if I'm bringing on probably 800, 900 agencies a year, but after 20 years, they have 20,000 agents. What they don't talk about is a failure rate. Failure rate, independent, probably 90% that don't make it to year 3. I'll say probably was at 86% that don't make it to year 4. They don't ever publish it. They brag about how many agents they bring on, but they never talk about the nutrition, like the failure rate.
Why do they fail? So number one reason.
Remember there was 7 pillars. You can't survive without any other pillar. One of the pillar was cash flow.
But you don't have much cash flow when you first start.
So imagine if I roll $1 million, and hypothetically, I'm making it hypothetical, okay? Imagine if I roll $1 million of Traveler this year, right? If I am at Big Apple Cluster Network, and Big Apple Cluster Network is on the base commission, and because Traveler have 2 different base commissions, 10%, 12%, right? And then they take 10% from their agents. So now you're getting 9%. So that $1 million, you're getting $90,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you move up to the higher net base commission, you're getting 12%. So they take 1.2%, you're getting 10.8, right? But let's just say if we get 5 points override and we're getting 17%, and we pass that on 100% to our agents.
You pass the overrides on to your agents?
Yeah, 100%. Nice. Quantum pass on 100%. And is it easier to use 170,000 versus use 90,000?
Absolutely.
Right. So Quantum have a buy-in. Quantum have a $50,000 buy-in to become an agent. People overthink that, right? They're like, oh, why are you guys 50,000? Why are other people free? Well, just by running $1 million in Travelers, year number 1, that difference in swing in commission payable is 80 grand. Also, Quantum charge 20% fees of the new business. So let that sink in for a second. Out of that 170,000 commission you're taking home, you're going to pay out 20% to Quantum for them to do your service work. That's about $34,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To service $1 million book, right? You got to have CSR. People say, oh, I do the service work. I have salespeople just sell. I do service work. Well, you're the CEO, aren't you? How much do you pay yourself? You pay yourself 80 grand? You're the most expensive CSR. So let's break it down. By today's market, there's some agents talking about out there, I pay $12 per hour. I'm like, you should be ashamed of yourself, right? But let's just say hypothetically, you pay someone base salary $40,000 for service work. You pay the federal government 10%, right? That's 44. If you have a rent of $2 grand a month and 5 people in that space, that's $400 per person, $4,800 per year per person. So that $4,800 go on top of your $44,000. Now we're at $48,800. With everything else, workers' comp, E&O, cost of CRM, cost of phones, cost of this, cost of that, usually around $62,000 to $63,000 per person. Well, the next part is even more fun. For every 3 or 4 people you hire, usually 1 survive after 1 year. So we talk about the variable expenses of the employees. So that variable expenses come down on you. And at the end of the day, you pay them a salary, you pay Indeed a recruiting cost to advertise. You took your time out to train them. My math is usually around 75,000 to 85,000 of variable costs that get added, right, to a fixed expense of a single employee. So that single CSR usually costs an organization $75,000 to $85,000 after 1 year. Now, if you only pay service fees on the premium that you've written, go back to that $170,000, and for $1 million, you only pay $34,000 in service cost at a fixed number, right? It's the future model. I am 100% believer in this future model because we took out more rotations out of an agent's day. Their time, I can do a whole hour about podcasts about time and payrolls. Payroll and time of how an agent's time should be used, how a sales producer's time should be used, is probably the number one thing that achieves success. Most agents proud of their staff. My staff did 300 calls. My sales agent did 2-hour talk time. Well, let's go back for a second. If each staff costs you about $75,000 a year, what's that divided by 12 months? What's that divided by 22 days? What is that divided by 8 hours? Once you do the math, it's around $37 to $43 per hour. You tell me you have a staff that you pay 8.5 hours on payroll, and you proud of they only been on the phone for 2 hours and 6.5 hours they were idle. 6.5 hours times $43 per hour. How ineffective is that? Right? Like I have people say, I said, what's your budget of advertising? So we can jump into Qualcomm for a second. Why me, an agent? Our vision is not to sign up 80,000 independent agent or 20,000 State Farm agent. Our vision is to sign up one out of every 100 agents, and to work closely with them to achieve the best success, the best results.
Jeff, let's say you brought on Pinnacle, and I totally redid my model and had you do the servicing. And our agency is about 10 million in premium right now. So what would I'd pay you 50 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what have you seen? First of all, how does the service work?
So it gets even cooler. I'm not sure this is the next part that can go on podcast. I talk about it. You guys edit, delete, whatever you want.
Sure.
It gets a lot cooler when we start putting chopsticks in the bowl. Remember, there's a little theory that you can break 1 chopstick easy, 10 chopsticks a little bit harder, 20 chopsticks it's almost impossible. So there's a thing called level up, right? So that's why these clusters make more money. So these clusters on the agents, they take 10% of the base comp or even 15% of the base comp on new business. In my opinion, every single cluster should be given away for free because they take so much on the front end and on the back end. So first, there's sign-on for clusters. And then the second phase is they take your new business commission. So if you're not paying attention, they might even give you the bottom tier of the base commission versus the top tier of the base commission. And then they take the override. And then it gets even crazier because some of these agencies have 20 million with a carrier or 50 million or 100 million. And not stating carriers, hypothetical, a carrier like Safeco, they don't stop at 15% renew. Based on your total premium with them, it goes to 16%, 17%, 18%, 19%. I've been in a couple back rooms, and from what I hear, some of these carriers go up to 25%.
Let me ask you this. I'm part of SIAA. Is SIAA getting a nice little override on stuff and still paying us kind of like the 15 to 13%, and they're actually getting like 20% with Safeco and Travelers and stuff like that?
Hypothetically, the theory makes sense. I don't know, right? I don't know. But there is, with almost every carrier, you can move up on the renewals based on your premiums and also based on your. So a couple cool things about these. Yeah, loss ratio, huge. Thank you, Monica. I was looking for that word. I was like, where's that word at?
I'm listening attentively. Wait for the questions.
So let's just say your base renews at 15%. And once you achieve 20 million, it go to 16, 50 million, 17, 18 million. 100 million, go to 18. Let's say you cap at 18, right? So the next one is scalability with loss ratio and bonus based on growth and loss ratio, right? That's also negotiable too. What you see is, I earn, 0.5% in bonus and loss ratio. What a lot of people don't know is you can go to carriers and lock those in. And carriers actually like this. They come to you sometimes to lock those in. And let's just say this year we achieved 3.7% in bonus. And I can go to the carrier and say, hey, you know what? How about you lock me in at 3.5% before, this happened in January, right? And they're like, okay. So there's an upside that I don't have to pay you the full 5%. And there's a downside that you could end up getting nothing and I end up paying 3.5. But let's gamble, insurance company. All these actuaries are what? Just gambling, right? Insurance companies are the biggest gambler in the world, right? So
do you recommend always locking, Jeff, when you have the opportunity?
I don't know. It depends on who's favorite, right?
I will say depending on the goal though, because for example, for the loss ratio, you can cap your losses, right? And sometimes you're not in control of the losses. So if you're having a very bad winter and that you're going to get hit in the first few months of the year, at least for us that are on the snow states, you can cap your losses at 200,000, and that caps your loss ratio, which will eventually provide you with the profit sharing, which that is not, when you are aggregators, that is not passed down to you. That is all kept on the higher tier. So I think it does make sense though, like what you're saying, Jeff. Right.
So let's just say you lock in at 3.5, but now if you are already at 18% renewal and you lock in at 3.5, now you're at 21.5. And now I'm not mentioning any carrier's name here, but the theory is doable. And they keep the agent with the low premiums at the bottom tier, right? Because they keep you at the base renewals. So, and then the next thing, so remember, this whole cluster franchise alliance networks all need to be completely redone. And we talk about the 7 pillars, right? And
I want you to post those 7 pillars.
I just share with you the cash flow of how the guys from base model to InsurTech 1.0 to the InsurTech 2.0, how different it is through that process. And just imagine somebody at these organizations sitting down with the agents and going over these 7 pillars with you. How, as an insurance agent, you could be wildly successful if you understand the 7 pillars. And cash reserve, like, I think farmer asked their agents to come to the table with 40,000 minimum to open their agency, and State Farm asked like 50 or 60,000, and I believe also asked 100,000. Over here we asked our agent to bring to table $350,000.
I thought it was 50.
350 at Quantum.
Okay.
So
50 is the buy-in, and then you want
350
for staffing and all the other costs. You want to see that.
Mm-hmm. And then we help agents to get the money, right? Like we have banks that facilitate loans for agents. If agents willing to personally guarantee it, they can put 5% down. So $17,500 to go get $350,000. Think about that.
Man. What's
like,
that?
As I think about that, that's called leverage, right? Most people in insurance world, they use 100% of their own money. They leverage their money. It's always a 1-to-1 ratio. $1 I save, $1 I'm using as spending power. Versus if you do 5% down, go get 350. Now you have a 1-to-20 ratio. Your spending power is 20x the person sitting next to you.
So you like playing with that, is what you're telling me.
I'm playing with asset under management. Poor person use the word debt. Rich people use the word asset under management. It's the same word. It's the same philosophy, but different mindset, right? Mm-hmm. And imagine if you build a company with 1,000 agency. Each agency bringing on $350,000 a year, number one. That's $350 million in buying power. What's Geico total marketing spend? $2 billion a year, right?
2, yeah.
So now we are at 1/6 of what entire Geico Corporation buying power is. Now let's do the other math. If each agency hired 10 people, that's 10,000 salespeople full-time. Each one of them can take 10 sales calls a day of live transfers. Now we're at 100,000 sales calls a day. That's quantum distribution power, potentially. And with Quohong is a supplier, because you can't just have a distribution power. You got to have the supply chain, right? We learned this year the word of supply chain, what that means to our economy, right? And how important the word supply chain is. We got to have the supply chain. And my vision for Quohong is we want to be part of 1 out of every 5 mobile search. Mobile, let me give you a fancy word for mobile, digital. Digital search, somebody go online, whether through social media, cold email platforms, SEO search, SEM search, embedded insurance, embedded web search, right? Whatever that is, we want to be able to bid on through Quohong Exchange. We have our own exchange platform. Through the Quohong Exchange, 1 out of every 5 search of personal line insurance in America.
How's that working right now? Are you getting a lot of leads? Can somebody like Pinnacle
we're at the base level? So we have 105 clients right now. And our vision for our average client spend per month is $5,000. So if you have, 3 salespeople, that's usually the mark, $5,000. And then we want to start bumping that number up, over time as our client grow. We want to grow with them. So imagine this. Imagine before you are by yourself here, right? You are, let's say this is Troy. You talk to 3 different people up top. So imagine a map, right? This one will be your CRM company. This one will be your lead company. And this one will be your carrier. You have to do all the work, right? Like you have to personally talk to every single one. How many hats are you wearing? Right. And then just this little one link, there's like 5 different CRM companies out there. Mm-hmm. And then now all of them have dollars. So if you say, oh, I need dollars, I need phone, I need texting, then that's more company you have to talk to. So you just like more and more hat, and you go on like Facebook groups like Insurance Soup, IOA, everybody have their own allegiance, right? Because it's politics. And you don't know which one is the right one. But what if we change this business model, right, to a square? And we put Quohon in the middle of the square. So Quohon is in the middle of that square, and what's surrounding us is CRM companies, carriers, lead vendors, agents. We are the in-between to talk to everybody.
Mm-hmm. It all starts with the leads, right?
Well, it starts with the lead, but a lot of that is also start with our experience. I mean, we have really, really awesome people at Quohon. We're a small team, but a lot of our people come from enterprise. So, for example, president of Quohon, Justin Marks, when I met him, his account that he held under him was like Geico, Progressive, NetGen, and other carriers direct side. I'm like, okay, if you're good enough to talk to them, you're good enough to talk to me, right? Because they don't just put a retail account manager who just got out of college on those accounts. And imagine you just sign up with us, and instantly you are in our platform, you are in our exchange, and you can bid on a wholesale level like we can to 15 public traded or privately held lead vendors. You now worry about TCPA because everybody that we deal with, we vet them out ourselves. You're not worried about the CRM company when they start speaking gibberish to you because they're like, I need this API. You probably understand what API is, but half the agent out there don't understand what API is, right? They don't understand backend integration. They don't understand all that. We take that out of your hat, right? What if we speak to carriers? What if we speak with travelers and say, hey, you guys got Troy, right? Okay. Give us your heat map, where your best loss ratio, where your best close rate is, where you want your appetite, what age group is it? Who do you guys close best against? Because when a consumer fill a lead, they fill who they currently insure with, Geico, Progressive, State Farm, yada, 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 yada. And let's just say Troy said, Jeff, I crush against Allstate. I crush against Nationwide. So we can get Troy to bid on every single one of Troy's lead on currently insured with Allstate, currently insured with Nationwide. We can get deeper. Troy said, you know what? I don't want a bunch of old people on my book, excuse my language, because I want them for the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I was like, okay, I don't want them to move to Florida. What's the point of me signing up for Florida, a customer, a year later they move to Florida? Okay, we can filter all Troy's lead by 25 to 45 years.
There you go. I love it.
And then we can say, you know what, you worry about your retention, right? Okay, so we want to make sure that we're going into the city, the state, the zip code of where people's median household income are higher. Usually higher median household income leads to paying their bills on time and paying their bill on a longevity. Then we can pick out all those zip codes, those cities, and bid on leads based on median household income of census data. This is taking data and using it for your purpose. Now, what if we have all those conversations for you already, Troy, and build those out for you, build out your portal of your bid? Am I going to make you closing everything at 75%? F no. But if I was just able to make you do your job better, then for you to go directly to your CRM company, directly to your lead companies, 15.
Where do I sign up, Jeff?
Directly to all the carriers.
Let's do this.
If I can just increase your growth, your percentage by 1%, right? By 2%. That's our goal. Our goal is, do we see a value in us? Troy, can I make money on servicing you if I bring you extra 1%, 2%? And when you start looking at the math level of all this, right? You get 5% more on every $100 you write on new business. You get 2%, 3%, 5% more on your close rate because we help you be able to buy better leads. All these things are little things that lead to a lot of big things. And then over time, this is how you make $1 million a year. This is how you make $1 million a month.
You need to write a book, man. Name it $1 million a month. Seriously. Then you can push Quote Hound and Quantum.
So whoever listening to this, make sure you guys hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on LinkedIn. I am more active on LinkedIn and posting. On Facebook, you can see my kids and you can see what I eat. But I do post my thoughts on LinkedIn a little bit more. No so doubt. Make sure.
Hey, before we leave, Jeff,
I'm part of the crypto group.
Oh yeah, we also have a crypto group. So let me tell you the thinking behind that. I am a big pro advisor on insurance agents should be making their money. I believe what we do is extremely hard. I believe most insurance agents work 14 to 12 hours a day. I believe that most of them they don't make enough money. They should be making more, right? If you are always making your money on a dollar to dollar ratio, remember we talk about that dollar to 20 ratio versus dollar to dollar, then you need to figure out, hey, if I take this money home, how do I make this money work for me? So one thing a lot of insurance agents, they don't think about is exit, right? One is exit and two is retirement. If you look at 401k, if you look at Roth IRA, if you look at like, gosh, I'm going to get hay mail from saying the next thing. If you look at like annuities, these are investment model that's been around for 50 years. Our world right now, since 1975, August was 2nd, we got off the gold standard. Since our inflation, our Congress just passed another $1.5 trillion bill to aid Ukraine. They passed that bill at 1 a.m. Our Congress doing shady stuff, just passing bills, print our money, deflating our money, right? And
they're all getting rich with their inside information.
With COVID and Ukraine, we just literally printed $6 trillion, with somewhere around that line. So these conventional investment models, 401k annuities, they're not built for this irrational money printing world. So I came up with this group called Insurance Agent, Crypto, NFT, DeFi, Real Estate. We have about 808 members, people from captive agent, independent agent, or people who are corporate employees of carriers, right? Or even InsurTech tech companies. And, we're just sitting here, pass ideas, talk about cryptos, talk about real estate, talk about short-term rentals, STRs, and, all these things.
Don't forget those NFTs, baby.
Yeah. I want us to be able to like help each other to scale our mindset, increase our thinking, right? How do we think bigger? How do we end up doing project with each other? How do we end up build our own real estate syndication or our own venture funds, which is all possible, right? So, and at the end of the day, like once agencies stop treating themselves as an insurance agent, start treating themselves as CEOs, your insurance business will also scale once you start thinking like a CEO. And I believe everybody's capable of thinking like CEO. You just need to meet the right person and make sure your circle of 5 is on point.
Yeah.
Love it.
I got it.
Straight fire, baby.
So yeah, you mentioned that, you're acting as a servicing agent for all these, clients that are coming under you. Where is that talent coming from? And I guess I have one question from, the Savvital perspective. How do you see the BPO industry playing on all of this together?
A little bit more. Can you explain that last part? The BPO?
So BPO is the industry we're in. Virtual professionals is the business offshoring, basically. So
Right.
How do you see, that playing together in order to grow more and mitigate the cost of the CSR work per se?
So, twofold, right? Let's, agents don't enjoy training. Agents hate training. Let's just say that. Maybe 1 or 20 people I ever talked to, they say, "Oh, I love training." I'm like, really? 19 out of 20 said, "No, I don't enjoy training." So the CSR part of the independent world is so different than captive world. So you might have different audience. Mm-hmm. Captive agent might be, what? It ain't that hard. It is hard. It is so different, complex on the independent world. So, and signature is like so important. Like, you don't have signature with the independent carrier, that policy is going out the door, right? And, I really say it is important to have 2 roles. One sales assistant role, one service assistant role. A lot of people don't like to call their people assistants. I know that I listened to your podcast, Monica, with Dustin and Kat.
Yes.
And you hate the word VA. You like VP. So virtual
we
professional.
We are VPs here. Yay.
See that? I did my homework. So you need to break those down of roles, because at the end of the day, your best salespeople, they don't need to be chasing people. They need to just talking to people, right?
Yeah.
So imagine this. All right, put on my sales hat for a second. Imagine I am the best at what I do. I'm the best at educating customers and putting them in the right policy they want to put in. Then you need to have a VP do all the follow-up for them. Chasing the cold lead, say, hey, Troy, I saw that you submitted a lead back in March of 2020, and we never quoted you at our office. I'm sorry we did a poor job of reaching out to you. Are you free today at 3:45 to work with Monica? Setting up that appointment, right? Appointment setter, right? Or, hey, Troy, I saw that Monica quoted you last Thursday, but she didn't finish the quote. What I want to do is get you on Monica's calendar again. She's free at 8:17 tomorrow. Can we get you in at 8:17 or 10:45?
Set the appointments. Yeah, I love it.
Monica have two calendar open, 8:17 and 10:45. And at the end of the day, is Monica doesn't need to be chasing. Monica need to be batting. And these are what sales professionals do. The sales assistant professionals, they need to be going out there and putting them in the batting cage and facing the live pitches. And also, like, there's little things, right? Like cancel the insurance. There's little things like chasing down the mortgagee, changing the mortgage. I can't talk this morning. So anyways, so all these things are time, right? If Troy's bring in 250,000 in premiums a month, some of our best people are doing 250,000 between commercial and personal lines right now.
A month?
A month, yeah.
That is sick, man.
And let's just say, forget about the best, right? Let's just say average is 35,000. 35,000 a month is 420,000 a year. 420,000 a year is at 12%. Because you horrible at bundle, let's just say 12% revenue. That's still decent revenue, right? That's $60,000, right? That's $60,000 revenue a year. Now you break down what Troy is worth by 60,000 divided by 12 months divided by 20 working days, right? Now that's what Troy worth per day. Then why would you waste Troy's time and letting Troy doing all the chasing? You should have a professional, a separate sales assistant, sales professional helping Troy.
Yeah, just teeing up opportunities, right?
And then you start calculating, okay, Troy just brought on 420,000 in business. That 420,000 business with about a renewal of $60,000. If I had a $20 million book, I can sell my book of business at 3 times the renewal, right? So that means Troy brought on $180,000 of assets for me.
Was that a good
Now, what is Troy worth per month, per day?
Absolutely. I love
right? You just say, oh, holy cow. A guy that only sells 35,000 is worth 180,000 to me in a year. Why would I spend all of his time chasing down mortgage costs and cancellations?
Yeah. So
this is the math. Yeah. This is the math. Men lie, women lie, math do not lie. And everything we have to look at it unemotionally. Sometimes we might not enjoy spending money, but if you break down the math tells you to spend money, then you just spend money. And this is on the sales side, right? Service side is no different. Your best CSR, help you retain people. Period. They talk to the tough customers, whether they had a bad claiming experience or bad billing experience with carriers. Does carrier piss people off? Yes, they do. That's why we have job security, because carriers always piss people off.
Right.
They piss customers off all the time. It's up to us to massage it afterwards, right?
110%.
Come on.
It is. It's a massage.
It is so true. It is so true. It is so
like
true.
Every day we can have and drink beer and be like, why did our carrier did this? Right? Like that could be a line every single day. So, but if your best service people is worth X amount of dollars to you, then they should have service professionals to help them that worth Y amount of dollars, because their time is worth. A service professional is keeping you from losing 10% of your book.
Yes.
Like, what is that worth, right? So,
and their time is best spent massaging the customers and keeping them happy, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can go on for like another hour for this, and I know we don't have an hour. So, but
you're the man, Jeff.
There's so much value. Everything is math, everything is time, and Once people truly understand that, that's when their business starts scaling, right?
Right. No, I think it's like you have provided so much amazing information. When we go to edit this, I'm gonna re-listen to everything. I'm gonna do probably a blog or two from it with your permission. But I think it is you know, you hit it right on the dot right now. You know, as agency owners, you know, or, you know, either on the captive or independent side, the most important thing that you can do is take advantage of time and take advantage of, you know, groups like yours that are actually providing you with all the tools needed so you don't waste your money and your time in unnecessary things, because there mostly everything is out there. You just need to find the right fit, right? The right fit for you. And, you know, those that it's okay to reinvent the wheel, but with so much going on right now and so many, you know, InsurTechs emerging and everything that is happening, the people that do not succeed is because they don't want to succeed, because the tools are there. The tools are there. Yep. So thank you so much for, you know, providing so much insight. Like I didn't know the depth of your companies until today. And that's pretty impressive and pretty amazing. Very impressive journey. Love it.
Just to end on this note, like if you think about our industry, for 50 years, insurance carriers, they go to these swap meet places called conventions, conferences, Big I Conference, Smart Choice Conference, right? And or insurance agent of Virginia or professional insurance agent of Virginia. And then Big I break it down even further, right? Big I break it down to, you know, Big I of young professionals, Big I of Minnesota, Big I of minorities, Big I of women, right? And they provide a service, right? They provide an insurance carrier a service. They can meet future possible agents. Mm-hmm. But we live in the world of data, API, technology, Web3s. How does going to a conference and having 2 or 3 of your $120,000 paying employees sitting at a spot for 14 hours with a banner behind them, buying a 25 grand booth, paying a $50,000 sponsorship? How does spend $20 million, $30 million a year at these conferences that people had to drive an hour to? How does that work? We've been doing this for 50 years. And then you stand there at this conference for 2 days, you speak to 20 people, and you vet them out, and you end up with 4. You sign up 4, and then guess what? 3 don't succeed the first 3 years. You end up with 1. So you end up spending $75,000 for 1 agent. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you a different story. Let me tell you a group of guys coming here to disrupt this story. You go in and you say, hey, Jeff, how many insurance agents are buying leads from you between SIA, Brightway, Goosehead, Quantum, Keystone, Firefly? I'm sure I'm missing a ton, right? I said, okay, we have about 80 agents who are resident agents in Minnesota who are buying leads. I said, okay, how many non-resident agents are buying leads into Minnesota? I said, okay, we have about 80 agents as well. We have 160. Okay, Jeff, how many of them are buying more than 10 leads a day? So what I'm trying to get to is I'm trying to figure out who have full-time sales staff, right? Okay, that lists down to 140. Okay, how many of them have CRM? Well, we only work with agents who have CRM. That's the thing at Quoham. We actually don't take on customers without CRM. We turn away a lot of people. And then I had 3 people curse me out this week because I turned them away. True story.
It's okay.
So they said, okay, these 140 people, what I want you to give me a list. Hypothetically, I am traveler. I'm making a BS example of, okay, travelers, if you're listening. And hypothetically, I just had the best quarter I've had in a while. I made a lot of money in Minnesota. Guess what? If you just made money there, you want to go back to the well and you want to make more money there. So I'll give you all the zip codes where I had the most success in loss ratios. I'll give you all the age groups of filter where I had the most success on loss ratio.
It's all math, right?
Oh, yeah. Loss ratio is age identified. So, and then I say, Jeff, I want to bid across all 15 lead vendors. Take everything, overbid it, pay more. We always come try and beat up the lead guy for, hey, I want you to give me this lead for nothing, right? My thinking is different. I want to pay more because I want to have all your best leads. And then I want to have your best leads in the best area, best zip codes. And then these are the people that's going to be 9-year, 10-year, 20-year portfolio books, right? And then Traveler can go one step even further. Traveler said, we're going to make up a co-op expansion program. What does that mean? Which means we will pay $1,500 per sales producer for the people in Troy's agency if they will quote us first look. Troy gives them the first look every single time. So we're already doing this on a pilot program with a carrier X. Carrier X right now doing
Travelers?
This. No, I can't say it. It's Carrier X. It's Carrier X.
Right, stop it.
and Carrier X right now doing this with us. They're piloting with the agency right now, a quantum agency. But once the success go next level, it'll be all quantum agency. Once the success go next level, we're going to start going after direct agencies and aggregator like Keystone, Brightway. We can work with them.
Love it,
and we can work with all of them because we are a tie that rise together, right? And
Jeff,
what I want to do,
I got a quick question for you, man. Why don't you think bigger?
I don't know. Most people don't like what I think in my head, so I just keep on smiling.
No, man.
Jeff
Hey,
and I
Donald Trump
have so
says,
much in common.
if you're going to be thinking, you might as well think big, right?
Monica is my spirit animal on the other side.
I think so. I think this is yielding to a whole other conversation offline.
But it can get crazy because at this time a carrier can ship its book overnight. Imagine you can bid on the best premiums and you can shift overnight. One of the agency that we took this pilot program with, they were doing like $30,000 a month, and now with the carrier co-op money and their sales staff just writing business all day, I mean, they're doing like $120 a month, and they're doing 50% or 55% of that premium with carrier X right now, and it's all 100, 300 home and auto pup.
Yeah,
it's that good stuff.
Love
the Colombian stuff.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
That's amazing. Well, thanks, Jeff, for being here. This was just, I think, one of the best conversations we've had so far.
Thank you.
And so maybe we need to do a part 2, just to continue kind of like, drilling into the different concepts and conflicts that are within our industry that need to be solved.
I love for Kaylin Edgar, Justin Edgar, Justin Marks coming to your show. They all do so many different things. Like they're really in their own world. Like I am in my own world. Like half the time people send me this message, I don't know what's going on. Like my focus is here. My blinders on my own world. Justin Marks do amazing things. He worked with like probably 15 insurance carrier right now. Yeah. And working with buying traffic both ways. 2022, we have our mindset. One is we want to build our exchange and grow our exchange. And 2, we want to start pushing into the small commercial world. We're already pushing into the commercial trucking world where we're selling our traffic to carriers right now. But, our next aim is going to be small commercial. Our life and our Medicare is taking off as well. There's 80% of the people that's currently on Quohon is on the life and Medicare side. So we have plenty of traffic right now on that side. And so what I can see happening in the future, I can see a couple in InsurTech, we work really, really closely on that side of the world to change how some of the things are done currently.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Big, baby. Thanks so much,
awesome.
Jeff.
Thanks so much, Jeff, for being here. We'll definitely do part 2 coming up soon. And I'll definitely reach out after. And again, thank you for all these insights. It's been pretty amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, my friend.